The written record of humanity's presence along the coast of what is now the state of Texas begins in the 16th century AD when Spanish explorers recorded the activities of Native Americans they met in the vast region. Unbeknownst to the explorers at the time, and many other subsequent explorers, the original inhabitants had existed along the Texas coast for thousands of years. During these millennia, the ancestors of these Native Americans continuously adapted their lifestyles to the fluctuating sea levels of the coast. Unlike more stable inland regions, the Texas coast underwent significant geological changes up until around 3,000 years ago. These first inhabitants of the Texas coast crafted tools out of shells, used bow and arrows, and ceramics. And finally, by the time of the late prehistoric period, were taking advantage of bison protein sources from the Great Plains. Join me as we explore the prehistory of the indigenous peoples of the Texas coast. At around 20,000 years ago, global temperatures began to rise after thousands of years of cooler temperatures, bringing an end to the prehistoric time period known as the last glacial maximum. It was during this time that glaciers began to melt, leading to rapidly rising sea levels. Humans moving throughout North America eventually began living within what are now the modern borders of the state of Texas, around 20,000 years ago. Many of the traces of these people that have been unearthed by archaeologists come from the Galt site in central Texas, in the form of chipped stone dart points. At sites along the coast of Texas, many different styles of points, ranging from Clovis, Folsom, and Scottsbluff, have been found. Though these sites have been found near the current Texas coastline, they are not indicative of coastal occupation during the time following the last glacial maximum, as sea levels would have been substantially lower during that time. As a consequence, the prehistoric coast would have been many miles further out. Researchers are therefore unsure if there was any coastal occupation during this time. However, they contend that if there was a coastal occupation during this time, any evidence of it would now likely be submerged underwater. By around 10,000 years ago, rising sea levels resulting from glaciers that were still melting had begun to flow into the major river valleys along the prehistoric coast of Texas. The Trinity, Lavaca, Guadalupe, Aransas, and Nueces rivers received massive amounts of water, which in turn resulted in the birth of the Galveston, Matagorda, San Antonio, Capano, and Corpus Christi bays. Throughout the formation of these geological features, the sea levels continued to rise, albeit at a slower and more gradual speed. Humans began to occupy the Texas coastal areas between around 8,200 and 6,800 years ago, during a time when the sea levels there were very stable. The stability in sea levels allowed shoreline shallows to form, which supported vast salt marshes and grass flats. These shallow waters had high rates of photosynthesis, which gave way to lots of plants and nutrients. These elements proved pivotal in the subsequent flourishing of crustaceans, mollusks, and fish. The human inhabitants of the region established dwellings along the shores of the bays, giving them access to an abundance of shellfish and fish. Many heaps of eaten and discarded Rangia clam and oyster shells have been found along the bays and lagoons of the Texas coast. The Kendrick Hill site near Lavaca Bay bears evidence of humans eating shellfish. Within a heap of discarded shells at the Kendrick Hill site, the deepest and oldest layers of discarded shells was thin, but incredibly dense and consisted largely of Rangia clam shells that were dated using the carbon-14 method to around 8,200 years ago. Likewise, at three sites located on bluffs dominating Nueces Bay, the bottommost layers of the heaps of shells consisted of multiple thin layers of oyster shells. Artifacts are not very common at these sites, and mostly just consist of chert fragments resulting likely from the construction of stone points. However, another site dating to the same time frame and from the same region as the other sites had a fragment of a Sunray Venus clamshell that had been carved into a knife or scraping tool. According to archaeologists, the lack of artifacts found suggests that the area was not occupied for very long, and that humans there likely only gathered and ate clams and oysters. Animal bones have not been found, except for the remains of fish, which indicates that small-scale fishing was also part of the diet of these early peoples. With the evidence taken all together, archaeologists think that during this phase of the Texas coast prehistory, the dominant way of life was of small groups roaming around and establishing short-term camps to gather clams and oysters, and to fish. However, this does not mean that the coastal region or prehistoric Texas was just made up of small roaming bands of people, as archaeologists are certain that most of the bands of people occupying the coast at this time were likely just temporary foragers that belonged to larger groups from the inland regions. Supporting this theory is the Buckeye Knoll site, which is located near the Guadalupe River at a point 15 miles upstream from San Antonio Bay. At this site was found a prehistoric cemetery that was home to the skeletal remains of around 90 people. Small particles of tooth pulp from several of these individuals were radiocarbon dated to between 7,000 and 6,200 years ago. Research on the stable isotopes in the tooth pulp indicated that the diet of these people was made up of a mix of ground, river, and sea-based food sources. The variety of foods consumed by these people suggests that they may have moved back and forth between the coast and inland areas. After this initial period of human activity, the sea levels became unstable for the next 200 years. During this time frame, human activity on the Texas coast likely became very minimal, as evidence of human presence is sparse for this time frame. Various stretches of time during this phase were marked by high water levels in the various bodies of water near the Texas coast, which had the result of reducing photosynthesis. The lack of plants resulting from the reduction in photosynthesis would have decreased shellfish and fish populations dramatically, making the area much less desirable to humans. This period of little to no human activity was followed by another major phase of human occupation between around 6,000 and 4,000 years ago, which once more coincided with stable sea levels. Campsites along the central coast region of Texas appeared in large numbers. The upper Texas coast began to see human habitation, as evidenced from the piles of discarded shells of shellfish which have been radiocarbon dated to this time frame. The number of artifacts such as dart points and scraping tools found at these sites increased dramatically compared to the previous phase of human habitation along the coasts. Many sites near Nueces Bay saw heavy activity in the form of the collection and consumption of shellfish. The McKinsey site contains several dart points, a scraper, a fragment of gouge, and chert flakes. A flake of obsidian was also unearthed, which indicates that long-distance trade occurred during this phase. The Mean site contained a massive number of compressed clams, which were radiocarbon dated to around 5,300 years ago. Additionally, many other sites have been identified near the shores of Nueces Bay, Galveston Bay, and among the clay dunes on the northern shore of Baffin Bay. These sites all contain traces of human activity dating to the time frame between 6,000 and 4,000 years ago. Archaeologists think that during this time frame, the entire Texas coast was likely inhabited. The greater number and variety of artifacts found at the sites indicates that human activity was much more intense compared to any other subsequent phase of human habitation. Atop a clay dune on the northern shores of Baffin Bay, there lay several layers of evidence of human presence in the form of a thin layer of used and eaten oyster shells and charcoal, dating to between 5,900 and 5,300 years ago. Along the upper coastal region, there have been unearthed numerous piles of discarded shells found on Galveston Bay that have been dated to this time period as well. Altogether, oyster shells make up most of these shellfish remains. Once again, this phase of human habitation was then followed by another period of little to no human activity, which lasted around 1,000 years, between around 4,000 and 3,000 years ago. This absence of human activity also once again coincided with high fluctuations in sea level. Any rapid rise in sea level would have reduced the populations of crustaceans, mollusks, and fish, thereby making the area undesirable to humans. However, starting around 3,000 years ago, humans began to occupy the region of the Texas coast once more, as the sea levels became stable and reached their modern positions. With the sea levels fluctuating only minimally over the next several centuries, the waves of the seas of the Gulf of Mexico began depositing sand a few miles from the mainland coast in a line roughly parallel to the coast. These landforms, which are broken up by only a few tidal passes, eventually became what are known today as the barrier islands of Padre, Mustang, San Jose, and Matagorda, which are located all along the middle and lower Texas coasts. Galveston Island and the Bolivar Peninsula established themselves along the upper Texas coast. These geological features shield the bays and lagoons from forceful waves from the sea. With the inland bodies of water protected, they once again began to accumulate sediments, such as decaying plant matter from rivers, which in turn provided nutrients for the growth of shellfish populations. Because of these developments, the populations of shellfish and fish increased dramatically. Likewise, humans began to harvest these resources with ever greater intensity, to the point that the foods became staples in the diet of the peoples of the region. The piles of eaten and discarded shells from this time period became bigger and more numerous compared to all other previous time periods. Alongside this evidence of resource use, other signs of human occupation increased, all of which indicates more intensive human activity. On the Central Coast region, at the Kent Crane site located at Capano Bay, a pile of discarded shells over 5 feet thick and a half a mile long was discovered. According to radiocarbon dating of shells located at the very bottom of the pile, the beginning of intensive occupation of the Kent Crane site began around 2,800 years ago. In addition to evidence of shellfish consumption, numerous different types of tools and ornaments made from a variety of resources were found as well. Pendants and jewelry made from whelk shells, awls and pins with designs carved into them made from deer bone, and perforated oyster shells that archaeologists think may have served as weights for nets. Many pieces of asphaltum were also found at the site, which is a black-colored and tar-like substance that comes from holes in the floor of the Gulf of Mexico. After this substance makes its way towards the surface of the Gulf of Mexico, it then finds its way to the Barrier Island Gulf beaches. The peoples of the region then would collect this substance from the beaches to use as a coating on the woven baskets that they made. This is deduced from the finding that many of the specimens of asphaltum that have been found have imprints of woven basketry on them. The substance was also used as an adhesive to connect projectile points to wooden shafts. This once again is deduced from the finding that many of the Kent Crane dart points have residue of asphaltum on their bottom portions. This is the portion which would have been put into a wooden shaft. The Mustang Lake site, located on the shores of a saltwater inlet that is linked to the San Antonio Bay, contains a very large pile of discarded shells. The site runs for nearly 1 mile along the Mustang Lake shoreline. The pile of discarded shells, made up of mostly densely packed layers of oyster shells and fish bones, is around 5 feet thick. The earliest and bottommost layers of the piles have been dated to around 2,800 years ago. Hundreds of punctured oyster shells and tools made from conch shells have also been found too, such as gouges and hammers. Numerous other similar but smaller sites have been discovered in the region of the Central Coast, dating to the same time frame. However, even these smaller sites cover thousands of square feet and have densely packed piles of oyster shells, fish bones, and tools made of stones and shells. During this period along the upper coast on the shores of Galveston Bay and Trinity Bays, humans produced numerous piles of discarded shells. These are all dense piles of shells and are mostly made up of clam shells as well as oysters. Chipped stone dart points and other tools made from stone, along with ornaments and tools made from shell and bone, have also been found. In general, numerous bones of fish, turtle, deer, and other ground-based animals have also been found. It was during this phase of human habitation that fishing increasingly became an essential way of life for the peoples of the region. In contrast, information on the lower Texas coast during this time frame is sparse. Numerous sites have been documented, but very few have received an in-depth archaeological investigation. The sites do not have piles of discarded shells, because the environments during the time frame likely did not have many shellfish, due to the areas having had very salty water, which would not have supported the existence of oysters and other shellfish. Fish bones have been found in large numbers at many of the sites, which have led archaeologists to believe that it was a staple in the region, just as it was in the northern areas. Numerous burial sites in the Rio Grande Delta area have been found and dated to around 3,000 years ago. At this point, the Archaic period ended, beginning the start of the late Prehistoric period. During this transition, numerous changes in Native American technology occurred. The most important of these was the introduction and adoption of the bow and arrow. This weapon and tool is relatively easy for archaeologists to detect in the archaeological record, which has allowed them to more accurately assess the probable time frame in which it was adopted. The bow and arrow superseded the atlatl and dart as the primary weapon used in hunting and warfare. Ceramic technology also came into common use. This technology served various functions, but was most likely used for cooking and storage purposes. Likewise, ceramic technology is also easy to detect in the archaeological record. The bow and arrow was likely introduced on the coast of Texas at about the same time that it showed up in the inland regions, between about 800 and 1000 AD. Scalorn arrow points were used during this time in central Texas, as well as the upper coast and northern part of the central coast. In the Corpus Christi area, this arrow type is not common, and instead unnotched and unstemmed triangular arrow points were the earliest arrow point types in the area. These points have been found at the Ingleside Cove site and were dated to between 1000 and 1250 AD. Further down the coast, many different unstemmed and unnotched arrow point types, like Cameron Star, were found in abundance, but the approximate time when they appeared has yet to be figured out. Ceramic technology first appeared on the upper Texas coast. Early pottery types appear to date to several centuries before the 1st century AD. According to Lawrence Atson's studies of the Galveston Bay area, it is theorized that the Tchefuncta ware found there is connected to pottery found in Louisiana. The Tchefuncta ware pottery was likely introduced to the Galveston area by about 100 AD. At the Eagle Ridge site, near the Trinity River Delta, there has been found many shards of Tchefuncta pottery in layers of soil, radiocarbon dated to around 400 BC. This possibly indicates that the Tchefuncta pottery from the upper Texas coast is just as old, or nearly as old, as those from Louisiana, which further indicates that the peoples in both areas were related and communicating with each other often. In the centuries after the 1st century AD, the Upper Coast pottery began to evolve and change stylistically and technologically. Pottery began to take on similarities with the Goose Creek series, which is sandy paste in nature. Pots in this series were mostly undecorated, aside from sometimes having geometric patterns carved into them. By about 1000 AD, however, more changes occurred in the style, and Upper Coast designs began to take on the characteristics of the design patterns of Coles Creek and Mississippi and Louisiana designs. After 1000 AD, some Upper Coast pottery began to be tempered with grog, which is a technology that was maybe borrowed from Louisiana. The connections and continuous interactions between the peoples of the upper coast of Texas and people from Louisiana likely continued during early historic times after contact with Europeans. According to historical sources, the Akokisa and Bidai Native Americans of the Galveston Bay area and the interior regions share linguistic traits with the Atakapa natives of south central and southwestern Louisiana. By around 1250 AD, ceramic technology had made its way south to the central coast. Sandy paste ceramics, similar to the Goose Creek plain of the upper coast, have been found on the lower Lavaca River near Scalorn arrow points. Peoples who were likely the ancestors of the historic Karankawa tribes on the central coast were making unique pottery between 1250 and 1300 AD. This pottery has been called Rockport ware by archaeologists. The pottery is thin and made from a sandy paste. They are at times undecorated or sometimes have artistic incisions on them. Many are also covered with a layer of asphaltum to provide structural support or to serve as decoration. For example, the asphaltum was smeared onto the pots in wavy and vertical lines that were positioned parallel to each other. Many of the interiors of the pots were covered with asphaltum, which archaeologists think may have served as a sealant. Rockport pottery is mainly seen as having existed on the central coast, as it is mostly and commonly found in a range spanning from Matagorda Bay in the north to the northern shore of Baffin Bay about 93 miles to the south. The range for this pottery is similar to the known range of the historic Karankawa tribes. Rockport pottery has also been found in large numbers at sites associated with Spanish colonial missions and presidios, where Karankawas are known to have historically resided at. All of these lines of evidence strongly support a connection between the Karankawas and Rockport pottery. No Native American pottery has been found at the sites along the lower Texas coast. In this region, pottery was never likely locally produced. Instead, it is thought likely that the Rio Grande Delta people might have traded their shell ornaments for pots, and possibly also other items like jadeite ornaments. The Huastecan people resided in the northeasternmost part of Mesoamerica, and likely traded their pots and jadeite ornaments to the people of the Rio Grande Delta area. This is supported by the discovery of jadeite ornaments at sites associated with the Brownsville complex. Post-classic Huastecan ceramics have also been found in the Rio Grande Delta area. By the late prehistoric era, the populations of coastal groups and their densities were likely growing really rapidly, fueled in large part by an abundance of fish. By about 1250 AD, the roaming area of the herds of buffaloes of the Great Plains enlarged to encompass the coastal Texas prairies. After this development, the Native Americans of the Central Coast, and to a lesser degree the Upper Coast as well, began to supplement their fish-based diet with the meat and protein-rich resource of the herds of buffalo. Numerous bison bones have been found at Rockport phase hunting sites on prairie uplands, which tower over the rivers and the creeks that flow across the coastal plains. All of these sites are within an area spanning from the Texas mainland coast to around 24 miles into the interior. This range is roughly equivalent to the territory of the Karankawa tribes that were documented by Euro-American chroniclers during the early historic period. Everything the Karankawa needed was within this area, such as bison and other key resources such as chert for making stone tools. Seasonality studies of fish bones and oyster shells suggest that the major fishing camp sites of these people were made up of around several hundred individuals during the autumn through to the early part of spring. During the late spring and summer, populations broke up into smaller kin groups whom then moved inland along streams to hunt deer and buffalo. Spanish colonial archive records document this pattern of seasonal settlement and mobility. According to the 16th century Spanish explorer Cabeza de Vaca in his book Relación, Native Americans of the Central Coast had peaceful relations with each other and engaged in trade with tribes located further inland. This is backed by archaeological evidence found at the Melon site near Capano Creek, located in Refugio County, that suggests that the peoples of the coast used the same bison hunting camp that inland peoples used. Archaeologists think that the coastal Native Americans learned to use the tools and skills necessary to hunt and butcher buffalo and process hides at sites like this. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed my documentary, don't forget to like and subscribe, and check out my Patreon page at patreon.com/World Chronicles.